Okay, guys, so a while back I taught a series or an idea of half guard passing from a position called the reverse underhook. Today we're going to look at a round between Mason and Brad and look at this passing sequence and do a little bit of troubleshooting. This round actually happened the day that the morning that I taught this series, and watching the footage back, this caught my eye and I had to watch it back. So we're going to get to this sequence here and we're going to go over it. So I'll just let the sequence play through real quick, and then we'll run it back in slow-mo. Okay, there's the sequence that we're going to be troubleshooting in question. And just for reference, this will be the sequence or at least my version of it, or at least one that I could find recently. So just to run through this, what's going on here really quickly. Let's come back a few steps. I step into John's butterfly guard with what would be considered a cross hamstring style of passing. This is not really good foot placement on my part, but that's not the point of the video. And then I immediately go into this front step series and put my right foot near John's hip. Again, my foot placement here is not that great. But what this does allow me to do, since John falls back, is to enter the reverse underhook position. So what is the reverse underhook position? We'll pause and take a look at it right here. The tenets of the reverse underhook position are this. You turn side on to the bottom half guard player. Take your hand that's on the side of the free leg, that is opposite of the trapped leg, and place that elbow underneath their forearm. It's an underhook with the opposite arm, hence reverse underhook. So that's the core tenet. Now, two of the other core tenets are, number one, take the knee of the trapped leg off the ground. This makes it very difficult for the bottom player to go into lockdowns, to insert meaningful butterfly hooks that don't immediately get him past, and it generally makes it very difficult for the bottom player to get his game going. The third core tenet of the reverse half guard position, and I don't do it in this frame. We'll go forward a little bit. I think I do. So this is a mistake. You can actually see that I'm ignoring the third core tenet of the reverse underhook passing position. That would be that my right foot, the foot of my free leg, needs to be on live toes to counter a bridge to John's left-hand side. You can see I don't do that here. That's very, very important. You need to have the free leg on live toes. So we will run back again. I enter the reverse underhook position, Trap knee off the floor. Again, I'm not on live toes with the free leg as I should be. And what this begins to look like when it works is this. John has to lock up high, as you see there, around my knee to prevent me from immediately passing to three-quarter mount. However, since I have the reverse underhook position, I essentially split John's upper body in half. I fully isolate his upper body from his lower with that reverse underhook. I do this with the use of only one arm. What does that mean? It means that I have a free hand to aid in the foot pummeling battle with the lower body. So while I have John's upper body isolated from his lower body, again with the use of my body and one arm, I have a free hand to start pushing on John's knee, as you can see here. From here, I slowly push John's knee down until I clear my knee, and I immediately pummel my knee to three-quarter mount. As we let it run here, I make a switch from the reverse underhook position to control John's head and shoulders. Typically, this will be a cross-face underhook. From here, if the bottom player insists on retaining quarter guard with the free leg, in this case my right leg, you can throw in a butterfly hook and free the leg. That wasn't necessary in this case. Pommel out to mount. So this is a decent example. I've identified the weaknesses, but nonetheless, a decent example of what passing with a reverse underhook looks like from half guard. So, there's the reference. Let's do some troubleshooting. So, this is the sequence. Whenever I first saw this, I was like, again, we'll let it run. When I first saw this, I was like, Brad countered this incredibly and in a way that I haven't seen. Now, it happens pretty fast. He ends up on the back. I believe he ends up getting the strangle. That's not so important. It's not really what we're talking about here. I was like, what did Brad do to counter this? Well, this is going to be a lesson in awareness of the positions of the lower body. So here is what's going on. This method and falling to a reverse underhook is an excellent counter to a low knee shield. It's a decent counter to a high knee shield. It's an excellent counter to a low knee shield. Mason follows Brad to the ground, mutual double collar ties, of which Mason's will be stronger because he has the inside position. Mason gets to this and identifies it as a half guard when he's not really in a half guard. Here's the reason. Brad's right knee is not in between Mason's legs. Essentially, what Brad has here is some form of single butterfly hook. So he's in some variation of open guard. This is noticeably not half guard. And this is noticeably not a low knee shield. So, nonetheless, Mason identifies this guard to be a half guard and switches his hips over the top to fall to the reverse underhook position. However, since Brad's knee is out, it has the effect, that knee has the effect, sort of a Sumagashi action here as we go back. sort of a Sumigashi action here. This is not the case if Brad's knee is actually in between Mason's legs. If that is not the case, then Mason falls to reverse underhook and ends up in a strong passing position. However, Brad's knee is not in that position. And so as Mason goes to hip switch over the leg, Brad takes a grip over the upper body. Drags Mason to the ground here, quickly throws one hook in, rotates to the other side, and immediately starts to put the strangle on. But it all begins with this. Now, Mason is still in a good passing position here. However, by not being in a half guard and being in this modified open guard, falling to the reverse underhook ends up being catastrophic because of the back exposure. So, what's the key here and what's the solution? The key is to make certain that you're in half guard before using this series of techniques, this reverse underhook passing. So the question is, what's the solution? Well, how do we get to half guard from this position? What Mason could do from this position is clear collar ties and stand up and go into this front step style passing that we see here. Where we split the legs, and this is the key detail. We step around with the free leg, now at this point, if I were to just sit down and start applying pressure, John would have a butterfly hook in. But as we go to turn, John's knee clears my hip line and is now essentially, his knee is essentially trapped. We lower our body weight, scissor the legs, and we're quote unquote safely in top half guard. And we can start working all of our passing sequences from here. So the key would be, even though this is a half guard pass, the detail here is to get to half guard prior to using this, so where you can safely implement this reverse underhook passing. Again, this front step and this detail of getting the bottom player's knee past your hip line is what allows us the freedom to go into this very strong style of passing. Guys, if you got to this point, I appreciate it. Have a good night.